Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Devrat Mishra from Department of Physics and Astrophysics, University of Delhi. Today we are going to discuss about the module Optical Properties third from paper Electronic, Magnetic and Optical Properties of Materials. So students, let us see what we are going to learn in this module. So we will see the propagation of an electromagnetic wave in solid, then we will see the lattice absorption, band to band absorption and direct and indirect band gap semiconductor. Complex refractive index and light absorption. Generally, when light propagates through a material, it becomes attenuated in the direction of propagation as illustrated in figure 1. We distinguish between absorption and scattering, both of which give rise to a loss of intensity in the regular direction of propagation. In absorption, the loss in the power in the propagating electromagnetic waves is due to the conversion of light energy to other forms of energy, for example, lattice vibrations, which is heat during the polarization of the molecules of the medium, local vibrations of impurity ions, and excitation of electrons from the valence band to the conduction band. It is instructive to consider what happens when a monochromatic light wave such as E is equal to E0 exponential j of omega t minus kz is propagating in a dielectric medium. The electric field E in equation 1 is either parallel to x or y since propagation is along z. As the wave travels through the medium, the molecules become polarized. This polarization effect is represented by the relative permittivity epsilon r of the medium. If there were no losses in the polarization process, then the relative permittivity epsilon r would be a real number and the corresponding refractive index n is equal to root over of epsilon r would also be a real number. However, we know that there are always some losses in all polarization processes. For example, when the ions of an ionic crystal are displaced from their equilibrium positions by an alternating electric field and made to oscillate, some of the energy from the electric field is coupled and converted to lattice vibrations, intuitively sound and heat. These losses are generally accounted for by describing the whole medium in terms of a complex relative permittivity or dielectric constant epsilon r, that is epsilon r equals to epsilon r prime minus j epsilon r double prime, where the real part epsilon r prime determines the polarization of the medium with losses ignored, and the imaginary part epsilon r double prime describes the losses in the medium. For a lossless medium, obviously epsilon r is equal to epsilon r prime. The loss epsilon r double prime depends on the frequency of the wave and usually peaks at certain natural, which is called resonant frequencies. If the medium has a finite conductivity, for example due to a small number of conduction electrons, then there will be a Joule loss due to the electric field in the wave driving these conduction electrons. This type of light attenuation is called free carrier absorption. In such cases, epsilon r double prime and sigma are related by epsilon r double prime is equal to sigma by epsilon 0 omega, where epsilon 0 is the absolute permittivity and sigma is the conductivity at the frequency of electromagnetic wave. Since epsilon r is a complex quantity, we should also expect to have a complex refractive index. An electromagnetic wave that is traveling in a medium and experiencing attenuation due to absorption can be generally described by a complex propagation constant k, that is k is equal to k prime minus j k double prime, where k prime and k double prime are the real and imaginary parts. If we put equation 4 into equation 1, we will find the following: E is equal to E0 into exponential of minus k double prime z into exponential of j omega t minus k prime z. The amplitude decays exponentially while the wave propagates along z. The real k prime part of the complex propagation constant, that is wave vector, describes the propagation characteristics. For example, phase velocity v is equal to omega by k prime. The imaginary k double prime part describes the rate of attenuation along z. The intensity I at any point along z is I is proportional to modulus of E square, which is proportional to exponential of minus 2k double prime into z. So, the rate of change in the intensity with distance is di by dz is equal to minus 2k double prime into I, where the negative sign represents attenuation. Suppose that k0 is the propagation constant in a vacuum. This is a real quantity as a plane wave suffers no loss in free space. The complex refractive index n with a real part small n and imaginary part k is defined as the ratio of the complex propagation constant in a medium to propagation constant in free space. Capital N is equal to n minus jk, which is equal to k by k0 is equal to 1 by k0 into k prime minus jk double prime. That is, n is equal to k prime by k0 and k, capital K, is equal to small k double prime by k0. The real part n is simply and generally called the refractive index, and capital K is called the extinction coefficient. In the absence of attenuation, k double prime is equal to 0 and k is equal to k prime, and capital N is equal to small n is equal to k by k0 is equal to k prime by k0. We know that in the absence of loss, the relationship between the refractive index n and the relative permittivity epsilon r is n is equal to root over of epsilon r. This relationship is also valid in the presence of loss, except that we must use complex refractive index and complex relative permittivity. That is, capital N is equal to small n minus jk, which is equal to root over of epsilon r, which is equal to epsilon r minus j into epsilon r double prime whole root over. By squaring both sides, we can relate small n and capital K directly to epsilon r prime and epsilon r double prime. The final result is n square minus k square is equal to epsilon r prime and 2nk is equal to epsilon r double prime. Optical properties of materials are typically reported either by showing the frequency dependence of n and k or epsilon r prime and epsilon r double prime. Clearly, we can use equation 10 to obtain one set of properties from the other. Figure 2 shows the real and imaginary parts of the complex refractive index of amorphous silicon, which is a non-crystalline form of silicon, as a function of photon energy. For photon energies below the band gap energy, k is negligible and n is close to 3.5. Both n and k change strongly as the photon energy increases far beyond the band gap energy. Figure 2 represents optical properties of an amorphous silicon film in terms of real and imaginary parts of the complex refractive index. If we know the frequency dependence of the real part epsilon r prime of the relative permittivity of a material, we can also determine the frequency dependence of the imaginary part epsilon r double prime and vice versa. This may seem remarkable, but it is true provided that we know the frequency dependence of either the real or imaginary part over as wide a range of frequencies as possible, ideally from DC to infinity, and the material is linear. That is, it has a relative permittivity that is independent of the applied field. The polarization response must be linearly proportional to the applied field. The relationships that relate the real and imaginary parts of the relative permittivity are called Kramer-Kronig relations. If epsilon r prime and epsilon r double prime represents the frequency dependences of the real and imaginary parts respectively, then one can be determined from the other as depicted schematically in figure 3. Figure 3 represents the Kramer-Kronig relations allow frequency dependence of the real and imaginary part of the relative permittivity to be related to each other. The material must be a linear system. The optical properties n and k can be determined by measuring the reflectance from the surface of a material as a function of polarization and the angle of incidence based on Fresnel's equation. It is instructive to mention that the reflection and transmission coefficients that we derived in previous lecture were based on using a real refractive index, that is neglecting losses. We can still use the reflection and transmission coefficients if we simply use the complex refractive index n instead of small n. For example, consider a light wave traveling in free space incident on a material at normal incidence theta is equal to 90 degree. The reflection coefficient is now r is equal to minus of n minus jk minus 1 by n minus jk plus 1. The reflectance is then r is equal to n minus jk minus 1 by n minus jk plus 1 whole square, which is equal to n minus 1 square plus k square by n plus 1 square plus k square, which reduced to the usual forms when the extension coefficient k is equal to 0. Lattice absorption. In optical absorption, some of the energy from the propagating electromagnetic wave is converted to other forms of energy. For example, to heat by the generation of lattice vibrations, there are a number of absorption processes that dissipate the energy from the wave. One important mechanism is called lattice absorption and involves the vibration of the lattice atom as illustrated in figure 4. The crystal in this example consists of ions, and as an electromagnetic wave propagates, it displaces the oppositely charged ions in opposite directions and forces them to vibrate at the frequency of the wave. In other words, the medium experiences ionic polarization. It is the displacements of these ions that give rise to ionic polarization and its contribution to the relative permittivity epsilon r. As the ions and hence the lattice is made to vibrate by passing electromagnetic wave as shown in figure 4, some energy is coupled into the natural lattice vibrations of the solid. This energy peaks when the frequency of the wave is close to the natural lattice vibration frequencies. Typically, these frequencies are in the infrared region. Most of the energy is then absorbed from the electromagnetic wave and converted to lattice vibrational energy, that is heat. We associate this absorption with the resonance peak or relaxation peak of ionic polarization loss, that is imaginary part of relative permittivity epsilon r double prime. Figure 5 shows the infrared resonance absorption peaks in the extinction coefficient K versus wavelength characteristics of gallium arsenide and cadmium telluride. Both crystals have substantial ionic bonding. These absorption peaks in figure 5 are usually called Reststrahlen bands because absorption occurs over a band of frequencies even though the band may be narrow, and in some cases may even have unidentifiable features. Although figure 4 depicts an ionic solid to visualize absorption due to lattice waves, energy from a passing electromagnetic wave can also be absorbed by various ionic impurities in a medium as these charges can couple to the electric field and oscillate. Bonding between an oscillating ion and the neighboring atoms causes the mechanical oscillations of the ion to be coupled to neighboring atoms. This leads to a generation of lattice waves which takes away energy from electromagnetic wave. Band to band absorption. The photon absorption process for photogeneration, that is the creation of electron hole pairs, requires the photon energy to be at least equal to the band gap energy Eg of the semiconductor material to excite an electron from the valence band to the conduction band. The upper cutoff wavelength lambda g for photogenerative absorption is therefore determined by the band gap energy Eg of the semiconductor. So, h into c by lambda g is equal to Eg, or lambda g is equal to 1.24 by Eg. For example, for silicon, Eg is equal to 1.12 electron volt and lambda g is 1.11 micrometer, whereas for germanium, Eg is equal to 0.66 eV and the corresponding lambda g is equal to 1.87 micrometer. It is clear that silicon photodiodes cannot be used for optical communication at 1.3 and 1.55 micrometer, whereas germanium photodiodes are commercially available for use at these wavelengths. Table 1 lists some typical bandgap energies and the corresponding cutoff wavelengths of various photodiode semiconductor materials. Table 1 shows the bandgap energy Eg at 300 Kelvin cutoff wavelength lambda g, and type of band gap, that is direct for D. If it is indirect, then it is I for some photo detector material. So what we have seen here is that there are few direct band gap materials, for example indium phosphide, gallium arsenide antimonide, indium gallium arsenide and phosphide compounds of indium gallium and arsenide, then indium arsenide and indium INSP, indium antimony. So here we have seen that the band gap energy Eg is around 1 for compounds with like indium phosphate, gallium arsenide, antimony and silicon, whereas it is less than 1 for most of the materials including germanium, indium arsenide and indium antimony. And the cutoff wavelength lambda g is around 1 for most of the materials, and it is maximum for indium arsenide, and it is maximum for antimonide, which is 7, and 3.5 for indium arsenide. Incident photons with wavelengths shorter than lambda g become absorbed as they travel in the semiconductor, and the light intensity, which is proportional to the number of photons, decays exponentially with distance into the semiconductor. The light intensity I at a distance x from the semiconductor surface is given by Ix is equal to I0 into exponential of minus alpha x, where I0 is the intensity of the incident radiation and alpha is the absorption coefficient that depends on the photon energy or wavelength lambda. The absorption coefficient alpha is a material property. Most of the photon absorption, that 63%, occurs over a distance of 1 by alpha, and 1 by alpha is called the penetration depth delta. Figure 6 shows the alpha versus K characteristics of various semiconductors, where it is apparent that the behavior of alpha with the wavelength lambda depends on the semiconductor material. Absorption in semiconductors can be understood in terms of the behavior of the electron energy E with the electron momentum h cross k in the crystal, called the crystal momentum. If k is the wave vector of the electron's wave function in the crystal, then the momentum of the electron within the crystal is h cross k. E versus h cross k behavior for electrons in the conduction and valence bands of direct and indirect band gap semiconductors are shown in figure 7a and b respectively. In direct band gap semiconductors such as 3,5 semiconductors, for example gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, gallium phosphide, and in many of their alloys like indium gallium arsenide antimonide, the photon absorption process is a direct process which requires no assistance from lattice vibration. The photon is absorbed and the electron is excited directly from the valence band to the conduction band without a change in its k vector or its crystal momentum h cross k. In as much as the photon momentum is very small, the change in the electron momentum from the valence to the conduction band is 0. Figure 7 shows the electron energy E versus crystal momentum h cross k and photon absorption. In case of A, it is photon absorption in a direct band gap semiconductor, whereas in B, it is shown photon absorption in an indirect band gap semiconductor, where Vb is equal to valence band and Cb is equal to conduction band. This corresponds to a vertical transition on the electron energy E versus electron momentum h cross k diagram as shown in figure 9.24a. The absorption coefficient of these semiconductors rises sharply with decreasing wavelength from lambda g as apparent for gallium arsenide and indium phosphide in figure 6. In indirect band gap semiconductors such as silicon and germanium, the photon absorption for photon energies near Eg requires the absorption and emission of lattice vibrations, that is phonons, during the absorption process as shown in figure 7. If k is the wave vector of a lattice wave, lattice vibrations travel in the crystal, then h cross k represents the momentum associated with such a lattice vibration, that is h cross k is a phonon momentum. When an electron in the valence band is excited to the conduction band, there is a change in its momentum in the crystal field, and this change in the momentum cannot be supplied by the momentum of the incident photon, which is very small. Thus, the momentum difference must be balanced by a Phonon momentum, which is equal to h cross k. The absorption process is said to be indirect as it depends on lattice vibrations, which in turn depend on the temperature. Since the interaction of a photon with a valence electron needs a third body, a lattice vibration, the probability of photon absorption is not as high as in a direct transition. Furthermore, the cutoff wavelength is not as sharp as for direct bandgap semiconductors. During the absorption process, a phonon may be absorbed or emitted. If theta is the frequency of the lattice vibrations, the photon energy nu is the photon frequency. So students, let us summarize what we have learnt in this module. Effect of a solid on a propagating electromagnetic wave in a solid is explained. The dependence of the relative permittivity with the loss is described. The relationship between real and imaginary part of the relative permittivity is briefly described. Lattice absorption of an electromagnetic wave is explained, and band-to-band absorption is also explained. Thank you.